Bobby Orr. A defenseman who scored like a forward and flew like gravity was optional. In the 1970 playoffs, he literally went airborne to win the Stanley Cup, and someone took a picture that looks like he deleted physics from the game. He won the scoring title twice as a defenseman, not the defenseman scoring title, the actual league scoring title. That's not hockey, that's sorcery. In 1970-71, he posted 102 assists and 139 points with a plus 124 rating as a defenseman. The league average for defensemen was around 30 points. He won 8 straight Norris trophies, and in 1970 he captured the Stanley Cup, Conn Smythe, Hart, Art Ross, and Norris all in one season. Nobody else has done that. His knees gave out early, but for those few years, he wasn't playing defense. He was rewriting what defense meant. Wayne Gretzky comes next because his numbers sound fake until you realize they're real. He retired with 894 goals, 1,963 assists, and 2,857 points. Those aren't career totals. They're video game glitches that somehow happened in real life. If you took away every single goal he ever scored, he'd still be the all-time points leader just from assists. That's a math problem that shouldn't work. He had 50 goals in 39 games once. The record before that was 50 in 50, and people thought that was untouchable. He had 4 seasons with over 200 points when most players dream of hitting 100. His hockey sense was so advanced that players said he knew where the puck would be before the guy passing it knew. He didn't play hockey. He bent it around himself like space warps around a black hole. But if Gretzky owned the record book, Alex Ovechkin just rewrote the most important page. On April 6, 2025, he scored goal number 895 against the Islanders and became the all-time goal leader. For 2 decades, people said nobody would catch Gretzky's 894. Ovechkin didn't just catch it, he destroyed it with the same shot from the same spot for 20 years. The left circle, the one-timer, the celebration. He turned repetition into inevitability. Mario Lemieux played hockey like he was conducting an orchestra where everyone else was still learning their instruments. Cancer tried to stop him. He came back mid-treatment and won the scoring title. Back injuries destroyed most players. He played through them and still made defenders look like traffic cones. His hands moved so slowly you could see everything happening, but nobody could stop it. That's the ultimate magic trick, showing everyone how it's done and still fooling them. He scored 5 goals, 5 different ways in one game, even strength, power play, shorthanded, penalty shot, and empty net. Nobody else has done that. He retired, came back 3 years later, and immediately started scoring at over a point per game in his 30s. The laws of athletic decline apparently didn't apply to him. Pavel Bure was called the Russian Rocket because he didn't skate, he teleported. Defensemen would have perfect position, and then suddenly he'd be behind them with the puck, like he found a wormhole in the neutral zone. He had back-to-back 60-goal seasons when the league was turning into a defensive fortress. Every time he touched the puck in the offensive zone, the entire arena would stand up because something impossible was about to happen. Maurice Richard had eyes that goalies said they could see glowing through his helmet. In 1945, he became the first player to score 50 goals in 50 games, hitting number 50 in Game 50 with less than 3 minutes left. The pressure should have crushed him. Instead, it made him stronger. They named the goal scoring trophy after him, because when you thought of pure goal scoring, you thought of the Rocket. Jaromir Jagr is still playing professional hockey somewhere, and he's in his 50s. In the NHL, he finished second all-time with 1,921 points, and he did it while carrying defenders on his back like they were his equipment. His signature move was protecting the puck with his body, while basically giving defenders a piggyback ride to the net. He made being slow look fast, and being old look young. Time didn't beat Jagr, it just gave up trying. Guy Lafleur was the first player to record 50 goals and 100 points in 6 straight seasons. He played with his hair flowing behind him like he was skating through a wind tunnel, and somehow that made him faster. In Montreal, they called him the Flower, and when he scored, the Forum sounded different, like the building itself was alive. He made hockey look like figure skating with violence. Marc Messier guaranteed a win in the 1994 playoffs when the Rangers were down 3-2 facing elimination against New Jersey. Then he scored a natural hat trick in the 3rd period to deliver it and force Game 7. That's not confidence, that's prophecy. His guarantee kept them alive, and then they went on to beat Vancouver in Game 7 of the finals to end a 54-year curse. When most players guarantee wins, it's talk. When Messier did it, It was a spell he cast on reality. Sidney Crosby scored the golden goal for Canada in the 2010 Olympics in overtime against the United States. He's won everything multiple times, but that moment, that specific goal, turned him from great player to mythology. He makes the right play so consistently that it looks like he's reading from a script everyone else doesn't have. His edges are so perfect that figure skaters study his crossovers. Connor McDavid might be the fastest human to ever put on skates. He accelerates like he's got a different relationship with friction than everyone else. He goes wide on 3 defenders, beats them all, and still has the hands to roof it top corner. In the 2024 playoffs, his team lost the cup, but he won the Conn Smythe Trophy anyway, becoming just the 6th player ever to win playoff MVP on the losing team. His 42 points in 25 games was video game stuff. The Florida Panthers beat McDavid's Oilers in Game 7 to win their first Stanley Cup, and that series created its own mythology. Edmonton came back from being down 3-0 in the series, something that almost never happens. They forced Game 7 in Florida, and for a moment, it looked like McDavid might will them to the most impossible comeback in sports. But Sergei Bobrovsky, the Panthers' goalie, turned into a wall when it mattered most. He made save after save in a 2-1 game that felt like it lasted forever. Sometimes the mystical player meets the mystical moment, and the moment wins. Patrice Bergeron won 6 Selke trophies as the best defensive forward, which is an NHL record. But here's what made him mystical. He did it while also being elite offensively. He won more faceoffs than anyone thought was possible, sometimes finishing seasons winning 60% of his draws. In Game 7 of the 2013 playoffs against Toronto, the Bruins were down 4-1 with 11 minutes left. Bergeron scored the tying goal with 51 seconds left, then scored the overtime winner himself. He played the 2013 Cup Finals with a separated shoulder, torn cartilage, broken rib, and punctured lung. Nobody knew until after the series. That's not tough. That's superhuman. Ilya Bryzgalov became famous for talking about the universe and why you have to be mad, but people forget he was actually an elite goalie. He had a 42-win season in 2009-10 with Phoenix and posted a save percentage over .920 when the league average was .910. The difference is he'd make an incredible save and then in the post-game interview talk about how the solar system made him philosophical. He once spent an entire interview talking about bears in the forest instead of the game. He made being weird look like wisdom. John Drews scored 14 goals in 15 playoff games in 1990 after scoring just 8 all regular season. He went from fourth liner to playoff hero overnight, and nobody could explain it. He was shooting at 31.8% in the playoffs when 10% is good. For 3 weeks, he played like the best player in the world, then went back to being normal. Hockey can't explain players like Drews. Sometimes ordinary players just catch lightning for a few weeks and become legends. Fernando Pisani did the same thing in 2006, scoring 14 playoff goals including multiple overtime winners. He scored more shorthanded playoff goals that year than most players score in their entire careers. His game winner in overtime of Game 5 in the finals was the last playoff goal Edmonton scored in the Cup Finals until 2024. After that run, he went back to being a regular player. These temporary transformations are part of hockey's magic. Scott Stevens delivered hits that changed the entire sport. He didn't just hit players, he deleted them from existence for a few seconds. His hit on Eric Lindros in the 2000 playoffs is still talked about 25 years later. Stevens won 3 Stanley Cups and made 13 All-Star teams, but what made him mystical was how he turned defense into offense through fear. Players would literally change their routes through the neutral zone when they saw him coming. He didn't need to hit you to affect your game, just the possibility was enough. The NHL changed rules about headshots partly because of how devastating Stevens was. He played defense like it was psychological warfare. Ray Bourque played 21 seasons before winning his only Stanley Cup at age 40 in his final game. The image of him lifting the cup for the first time after 1,612 regular season games is one of hockey's most emotional moments. He finished with 6,209 career shots, which was the all-time record until Alex Ovechkin passed him in 2022. That's not just shooting a lot. That's turning shooting into a philosophy. He finished with 410 goals and 1,169 assists as a defenseman, numbers that most forwards would kill for. When he finally won the cup with Colorado, even Boston fans were happy for him. That's how respected he was. Brett Hull scored 741 goals, and 110 of them were game winners, but it was his shot that was mystical. He had this way of getting his shot off without any wind-up, like the puck just decided to leave his stick at 90 miles per hour. His dad Bobby was the Golden Jet, but Brett had the golden shot. He scored 70 or more goals 3 times when the league was getting more defensive. His foot was in the crease for the 1999 Cup winning goal, and the league just decided it was fine because it was Brett Hull. That's not a rule. That's reputation-bending reality. Mike Bossy publicly promised 50 goals as a rookie and delivered. Then, in 1980-81, he quietly chased and achieved 50 goals in 50 games, matching the Rockets' legendary mark. He scored 573 goals in just 752 games, a #1 all-time in goals per game average, beating second-place Mario Lemieux. He had 9 straight 50-goal seasons, and probably would have had more if his back hadn't betrayed him. He was so good at scoring that he made it look boring. No fancy dekes, no huge wind-up, just the puck in the net before the goalie knew what happened. He retired at 30 when most players are entering their prime because his back couldn't handle it anymore. Imagine what his numbers would be if he played a full career. Steve Yzerman played his entire 22-year career in Detroit and transformed from a pure scorer to a two-way player who could do everything. He won 3 Stanley Cups as captain and scored 692 goals. But what made him mystical was his leadership. Players said when Yzerman talked, the room didn't just listen, it changed. He played the entire 2002 playoffs with a knee that needed surgery and still led the team in scoring. After retiring, he built the Tampa Bay Lightning into a dynasty as their GM, proving his hockey brain was as elite as his playing ability. Some players are great. Yzerman made everyone around him great too. Peter Forsberg played hockey like he was trying to hurt the puck's feelings. He'd protect it with his body while dragging 3 defenders into the corner, emerge with all of them on the ice, and still have the puck. His signature move was using one hand on his stick to fend off defenders while controlling the puck with just his top hand. That's not supposed to work, but Forsberg made it look like the only way to play. He had 885 points in 708 games despite missing entire seasons with injuries. Imagine what he could have done healthy. Ron Hextall was a goalie who thought he was a defenseman who thought he was an enforcer. He's one of 2 goalies in NHL history to score a goal in the playoffs by actually shooting it himself. He scored 1 regular season goal in 1987 and 1 playoff goal in 1989. But that's not even the craziest part. He fought anyone who came near his crease and had 569 penalty minutes as a goalie. Goalies get maybe 20 penalty minutes in a career. Hextall got 569 because he played goalie like it was a combat sport. Joe Malone scored 7 goals in 1 game in 1920, and that record still stands over a century later. 7 goals in 1 game. Today's players celebrate hat tricks, like they won the lottery, and this guy more than doubled that when the league had 4 teams and everyone knew each other's moves. The fact that nobody has touched this record in over 100 years of hockey tells you everything about how impossible it was. Howie Morenz was called the Stratford Streak because when he accelerated, people said they could hear the ice crack under his skates. In the 1920s and 30s, before TV, people would travel hundreds of miles just to watch him skate once. He scored 271 goals in an era when 20 was amazing. He played so hard that when he broke his leg and couldn't play anymore, he literally died of a broken heart in the hospital. The entire city of Montreal shut down for his funeral. Eddie Shore was so tough that when he got his ear nearly ripped off in a game, he took a train to a doctor, had it sewn back on without anesthetic, then took another train back and returned to play later. He won 4 Hart trophies as a defenseman when forwards were supposed to win all the awards. He'd rush end-to-end with the puck, and if anyone tried to stop him, he'd go through them, not around them. They changed rules because of how violent he was, and he still dominated after they made the changes. George Vezina was called the Chicoutimi Cucumber because his pulse allegedly never went above 60, even in overtime of Game 7. He played every single game for 15 straight years until he literally collapsed in the net from tuberculosis. He never missed a game until he was dying. They named the goalie trophy after him because he defined what it meant to be calm under pressure. Modern goalies have sports psychologists to stay calm. Vezina was just born that way. Johnny Bower became an NHL starter at 34 years old, an age when most players are retired. He won 4 Stanley Cups in his late 30s and early 40s with Toronto. They called him the China Wall because nothing got through. He practiced by having teammates shoot pucks at his head in practice to improve his glove hand. That's not training, that's asking for brain damage, but it worked. He played until he was 45, and nobody really knows how old he actually was because he might have lied about his age to get into the league. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories about players who broke hockey, subscribing takes 1 second and helps more than you know. Plus, I post every day, so there's always something new. Dominik Hasek didn't play goalie, he interpreted it. He'd be on his back, upside down, doing a barrel roll, and somehow the puck would hit him in the perfect spot to stay out. They called him the Dominator, but he looked more like someone having a controlled seizure in the crease. 6 Vezina trophies and 2 Hart trophies as a goalie. Goalies aren't supposed to win MVP, but Hasek didn't care about supposed to. Patrick Waugh revolutionized goaltending with the butterfly style, then won 3 Conn Smythe trophies to prove it worked. He's the only player ever to win 3 playoff MVPs. He talked to his goalposts during games and claimed they talked back. The weird part is they seemed to listen because pucks would hit them at the perfect angle to stay out. He made being crazy look like strategy. Pavel Datsyuk was called the Magic Man because he could steal the puck from you while you were looking directly at him. He'd take it off your stick so smoothly that you'd keep playing like you still had it. 3 Selke trophies and 4 Lady Byng trophies, which means he was the best defensive forward who also never took penalties. He made defense look like offense and offense look like art. Teemu Selanne scored 76 goals as a rookie. That's not a typo. 76 goals in his first NHL season. The record still stands and probably always will because it's absurd. They called him the Finnish Flash, and when he celebrated goals, he'd throw his glove in the air and shoot it down with his stick like a duck hunter. Even his celebrations were must-watch TV. Nicklas Lidstrom was nicknamed the perfect human by his own teammates because he literally never made mistakes. 7 Norris trophies, 4 Stanley Cups, and nobody can remember him taking a bad angle or making a bad pinch. He played 20 seasons and was elite for all 20. Aging didn't apply to him. He retired because he wanted to, not because he had to. Zdeno Chara was 6'9" on skates and had a slap shot that hit 108.8 miles per hour. That's not a shot, that's a weapon. Players would literally duck when he wound up because taking that puck to the body could end your career. He played until he was 45 and was still shutting down players half his age. Physics says someone that big shouldn't be able to skate that well. Chara didn't check with physics. Martin Brodeur won more games and had more shutouts than any goalie ever. But the real magic was how boring he made it look. Pucks would hit him in the chest because he was always in the perfect position. He handled the puck so well they had to make a trapezoid rule to stop him from being a third defenseman. He made excellence look easy and easy look automatic. Nikita Kucherov plays hockey like he's solving math problems that nobody else can see. He scored 128 points in 2019 to win the Hart Trophy. But it's how he does it that's mystical. He'll hold the puck 1 beat longer than anyone else would, and suddenly 5 defenders are out of position. His passing lanes don't exist until he creates them. He makes time slow down. Nathan MacKinnon won the 2024 Hart Trophy with 140 points, but the scariest part is his acceleration. He goes from standing still to maximum speed in 2 strides. That's not supposed to be possible for humans. Defenders know exactly what he's going to do. Go wide and burn them with speed. They still can't stop it because knowing and stopping are different things when you're dealing with someone who treats physics like a suggestion. Patrick Kane had hands that could make the puck disappear and reappear wherever he wanted. His signature move was dragging the puck through his legs at full speed, which shouldn't work, but did every time. 3 Stanley Cups and a Hart Trophy, but the real magic was making impossible angle shots look routine. He'd shoot from behind the goal line and score top corner like geometry was optional. Gordie Howe played professional hockey in 5 different decades. That's not longevity, that's time travel. He was throwing elbows at guys who weren't born when he started playing. The Gordie Howe hat trick is a goal, assist, and a fight, which perfectly captured his game, skill, and violence in equal measure. He retired at 52 and probably could have kept going if he wanted to embarrass more generations. John Sebastian Jaguar won the Conn Smythe Trophy in 2003 despite losing in the finals. The image of him holding the MVP trophy while looking completely heartbroken became legendary. He was so good that playoff run that they had to give him the award even though his team lost. That's a different level of dominance. Tim Thomas had the best save percentage in a single season at .938, which he now shares with Linus Ullmark, who matched it in 2022-23. Thomas did this in his late 30s after bouncing around the minors for years. He looked like someone's dad who wandered into the net and suddenly became unbeatable. His style was chaos, but it worked. He won the cup in Conn Smythe at 37 years old. David Ayres was a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who came in as an emergency goalie and won an NHL game. This actually happened in 2020. He worked for the Maple Leafs, had to play against them wearing a Hurricanes jersey and beat them. He became the oldest goalie to win in his NHL debut, and he wasn't even a real NHL player. Sometimes hockey writes its own mythology. These players didn't just play hockey. They made it feel like magic was real and physics was optional. Some bent the rules, others bent reality, but they all left us wondering if what we saw actually happened. Because in the end, mystical isn't about the stats or the trophies. It's about those moments that make you question if the impossible just became possible. If you made it through all these legendary players, you're probably as obsessed with hockey as I am. Subscribe for more content that makes sports feel like mythology, and comment which player made you believe in hockey magic.